Oh, hey, Ted, thanks again for being on the show. I'm so excited to have you here. You know, talk about the book that you just wrote is going to be great. And I read the book, a lot of people in there. And I just want to make sure there's no controversy on this show. This is not that kind of show.
Really?
It's a feel-good, uplifting show. And, you know, a lot of the people that I know that are in the book that you sort of cross paths with, I like these guys. And they're friends of mine. They're people I look up to. So just to stay clear of anybody that you've had, you know, kind of butted heads with or whatever over the years, let's go ahead and just, you know, make a list of those people. We'll be sure not to mention them on the show. If that's cool with you.
No,
yeah, so go ahead.
Hey, it's your show.
Okay, thanks.
Out of ink.
There you go. Oh, hey, I don't want to rush you, but kind of have a show to do here, Ted. You know, live show, no script. What could possibly go wrong? Ooh, and then I run. You know that whole deal.
I'm only on the M's.
See you after monologue. You. There's some weird stuff going on back there. Hey, thank you very much. Thank you. I heard 3 whoop whoops. I don't know who was given that, but thank you very much. There was some weird stuff going on back there. I don't know if you guys saw that. This is Callaway Live. I'm Harry Arnett. We have a great show for everyone tonight. Ted Bishop is here, as you guys all know. 38th president of the PGA of America. He just wrote a book. We're going to talk to Ted in a little bit. This is also a very big week as we head into the National Open, our U.S. Open. Are you guys big fans of this whole process where anybody can enter? No? Did anybody try it? Did anybody try to qualify? Anyone? No one? AJ. We're all, but yeah, in his mind he did. We have a bunch of crappy golfers in here. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. Well, so you know it's a National Open. Everybody could qualify, and you guys probably remember last year that Johnny Rodriguez tried to get the 2022 U.S. Open at his house. Do you guys remember that? There's Johnny with Rodriguez National, and even toughened the golf course up a little bit so that you know, there it is. This year, he did shockingly he did not get the tournament, but yeah, I know. So this year he thought, okay, I'm going to set my standards a little bit lower. I'm going to try to get a sectional championship. So here he is. He just cried. This definitely looks photoshopped to me. I don't know about you guys. Johnny looks very very svelte. But he toughened the golf course up there. There you go with the. That was that big. I think that was that big gator. That was. Did anybody see that this week? Did you see that, Amanda? The giant gator.
Yes.
That was not a real gator. Was
Why
it?
doesn't somebody
came from Florida?
Get rid of him? Yeah.
I don't know. You should know how to deal with alligators in Florida. So that was Johnny Rodriguez, and I think that was probably the last time we used that lame joke. So, anyway, I'll tell you one thing that's not lame. We have Ted Bishop on the show tonight, so stick around. We'll be right back with Ted Bishop. All right. You are in the dark over here. Is it always this dark over here?
Todd Firestone again with Callaway 30 Seconds to Better. We're talking about the pitch shot right now, right around the green. My quick tip here, what I want to share is I see a lot of people, again, get real handsy with it. And I want to talk about making sure we get some extension going back. So instead of hugging myself going back, I'm going to try to make sure my right arm stays fairly straight as I go back.
Like an abrupt stop. All right. Hey, welcome back. Callaway Live. I'm Harry Arnett. Our guest tonight, thank you. That's a rowdy crowd. That's a rowdy crowd. Roger Cleveland's been drinking tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest tonight was the 38th president of the PGA of America. He just published his book. It's called Unfriended. I know we were talking about this earlier. Do books drop? Is that what they do? Do you drop a book? Well, you should if you didn't. But his book dropped this week called Unfriended, about his life in golf. And spoiler alert, there's some controversy in the book. And we're going to talk about it a little bit tonight. Please welcome to Callaway Live our friend and guest, Mr. Ted Bishop. There he is. Hey. Oh, you get the big hug. Good to see you, man.
Thanks,
How are you?
Thanks.
Have a seat. That guy. Why so serious there, Ted? Come on.
We thought it was a good pose for the title.
I like the continuity that you have the same exact socks and tie on that you have on the book tonight. Did you guys notice that? Yes. I love that.
Thank you.
So everybody's probably thinking the same thing I was when we said we're going to have Ted on the show. And I've seen you, obviously, since a lot of the stuff in the book happened. But people like, all of a sudden, Ted just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. And now we know why. You were writing a book.
Well, I hadn't really dropped off the face of the earth. I've pretty much been at the Legends Golf Club 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, really diving back into my business, and that felt good.
Yeah, you're scaling back a little bit. 7 days a week, 14 hours. That's like a full year for #Chad.
I realize that.
Yeah.
But, no, the book was, I started thinking about the book about a year ago this time, Harry, and really didn't do the actual writing until November, and knocked it out in about 4 months. And, it was for me, maybe help bring a little bit of closure to the situation.
Is there like an angry version of the book that's like the that we were going to see, like that was left on the? I mean, when you're writing it, obviously tons of emotions going through this. Did you enjoy the process of reliving a lot of the things that are in the book?
Well, I really did, because I think the vast majority of the book is just about stories of really pertinent and historical events in golf that took place during my time as an officer or president of the PGA of America. The first couple chapters in the book are about my impeachment and the circumstances that I dealt with there. But, I wanted the book to be positive. I mean, you read the book.
Yep.
I mean, hopefully you felt it was that way when you got done with it.
I did. I felt like, and for those of you who haven't read the book, you should. I was a little surprised because I sort of was like rolling up my sleeves. Let's hear what Ted has to say. And you were, as you mentioned, involved in so many high-profile, very positive things for the game that I almost felt like it was a little bit of a shame that a lot of people kind of think of you as like the last 48 hours of your presidency.
Yeah, and I think that
you probably do too.
Well, I do, and
yeah.
I think that's I guess that's the part of it for me that will always be hard to deal with. But history is what it is. But I think one of the things I was really proud with the book on, there's an appendix at the end of the book, and about 3 weeks before my time was up as president, I asked the PGA of America to give me a detailed timeline and help me really remember and define the things that we were able to accomplish in 2013 and 14. And they presented me with a 5-page, single-spaced document, and it was, even to me, who had lived it day in and day out, it was overwhelming, really, to look at the whole thing and say, you know what, this was a pretty good body of work. And I hope that as time goes by and history, particularly PGA members, look at my time as president, I think it'll be okay.
Well, what are some of the things that you're most proud of when you look back at that time that you were able to kind of be a catalyst for helping to see come to fruition?
Well, I think, for my presidency, things kind of started out with the anchoring controversy, and I think the position the PGA of America took was a position that was very friendly to the recreational amateur. I mean, our whole mantra was all about finding ways that people could better enjoy the game, and that's what that whole thing was about. Naming Tom Watson as a Ryder Cup captain to this day remains as one of my proudest accomplishments. I really enjoyed working with Tom for the 2 years that he was a captain, and no one did a better job up to the Ryder Cup than Tom did. And, hey, we got beat by 35 shots in 3 days. I don't care who the captain was. You're not going to reverse that trend. But we had things like drive, chip, and putt. The PGA Junior League really took off during my tenure. I coached my PGA Junior League teams at my facility. I've enjoyed that. And to be a president that does those things and talks about them, I think is really important. We did the announcement on the KPMG PGA LPGA Championship. We took 2 championships and a Ryder Cup to public golf courses in Bethpage Black and Harding Park in San Francisco. It was a West Coast PGA championship for the PGA, which was a huge deal. And then I think one of the things that I'm really proud of was the resurrection of the relationship that the PGA of America had with Arnold Palmer. And, that kind of culminated with the Deacon Palmer Award, which we named after his father. And I felt like that I was pretty instrumental in bringing Mr. Palmer back to a good place with the PGA of America. And to not be in Indianapolis at that annual meeting when we presented Deacon Palmer posthumously with that award and gave it to Arnold was probably my biggest disappointment as president.
Yeah, there's in the book a great account that you had when you guys went to see Mr. Palmer and tell him that you were going to do this award. And that has to be a memory that's right at the top of anything that you've done in your career.
Well, it was, and it's kind of an interesting story. I mean, we kind of went in, and the whole idea to go there and talk to him about anchoring to begin with was not to change his opinion. He supported the USGA's position on anchoring. I wanted to explain to him why the PGA felt that it did, and did that in kind of a brief few minutes, and thought the meeting was over with, got up, got ready to leave. He looked at us, and he said, what's your hurry? Sit down. I've got something else I want to talk to you about. And he shook that finger at me, and he said, I'm going to tell you something about the PGA of America that I'll bet you don't know. And he proceeded to explain to me that he felt like his father had been denied membership into the PGA of America because he was handicapped. And I knew that that was not the case. I mean, the PGA of America had a Caucasian-only clause that didn't go away until 1960. Women were not admitted into the PGA of America until 1978. Those were two things we're not real proud of in our history, but I knew that Mr. Palmer didn't quite have this one correct. But, working with our membership department, there was a considerable lag in when his dad could become a member and when he actually did. And I'm not so sure that maybe something did happen at the local level that prevented him from becoming a member when he should have. And the only thing to do and to make this thing right was to create this Deacon Palmer Award. And the whole context of the award was to give it to a PGA member who is overcome some obstacles in their career, who's not self-serving in any way, who's served their community and their club, and he was a perfect Deacon Palmer was the perfect one to receive the first award for sure.
So all that you just mentioned, that whole timeline, I mean, that's in a very short period of time as president. I think you weren't as a president for 10, 12 years. That's in a very short timeline that you guys accomplished all that stuff. 23
months. And it went by very quickly. And, from my standpoint, it was the greatest time in my life. I had a week in the middle of the summer in 2014 where I was in Scotland. I stayed at Trump International, guest of Mr. Trump, played in the Pro-Am, the Scottish Open with Phil Mickelson and the First Minister of Scotland. That was on Wednesday. I drove down to Glen Eagles on Saturday, met Tom down there, and Tom and Keegan Bradley and I played at Glen Eagles on Saturday, and then Tom and Jim Furyk and I played on Sunday. And, for a guy like me who didn't play golf in high school, who started out working on a par 3 course in northern Indiana, to look at some of the experiences that I had through the PGA of America is pretty incredible, really.
And you're an old greenskeeper, so were you checking out the greens?
Still am.
Yeah, still hurt yourself, as a matter of fact. We were talking before the show, and Ted's kind of limping around. I was like, what happened? Here's the former president of the PGA. He's like, I was pulling out a out-of-bounds stake on the mower, and I slipped off the mower and almost broke my ankle.
True story.
Yeah. So you got to get people that do that for you.
No, I enjoy that. It's been really kind of fun to get back and work outside and lose a little bit of weight and get in good shape.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like, but that sounds like. So you have a reputation, obviously, as being someone that's very outspoken, and even in your time, we saw you, as I mentioned when you first came in, we saw you all over the place. Have you always been that way? Have you always been someone that sort of enjoyed speaking your mind or shooting from the hip, or at least, kind of speaking on issues?
Well, I've never been a person that's had a problem taking a stand on issues. I don't like it when people say I shoot from the hip, because it's like they
Who says that?
They think that I speak before I think, and that's not, really the case. But, you know, in my time as president of the PGA of America, you got to remember we had just hired a new CEO in Pete Bavacqua. So we brought somebody in who had absolutely no institutional knowledge or really any historical background on the PGA of America. And it kind of put me in a role as president of the association that no president had been in for quite a while. I mean, Joe Steranka, the previous CEO, had worked for the PGA of America for many years before he was hired. So I became, by the PGA of America's own direction, kind of became the spokesman for the organization. And, you know, there were a lot of things that we needed to change, Harry, in that short period of time. I knew I was a short-timer, so to speak. I wasn't afraid to make the tough calls or give people some bad news because I really wanted to kind of get things lined out for Pete and for Derek Sprague, who was going to come in behind me as president. So if that meant that I had to be the bad guy or do the dirty work at times, then that was just my role.
Well, from an outsider's perspective, I mean, a little bit of an insider, obviously, being Callaway, I thought the work that you did as president and Pete as CEO together was some of the best work we had seen in this industry for advancing a lot of the things that you had talked about. So you had to be, you know, feeling really good about the time that you had there leading up until, you know, your impeachment.
Well, it was, and I think that you're right. I think that Pete and I were a great team working together. I mean, our personalities were different. I think our skill sets were different, and we got a lot of things done because we did work together. And it wasn't just one guy. It was, you know, the two of us and the people around us as well that made some things happen. And I think that I really prided myself in the team atmosphere, so to speak, that we had at the PGA of America. And that being said, that's what was really kind of disappointing for me, the way that things ended, because a lot of the people that I would have hoped, you know, would have supported me in a moment of stupidity, you know, they didn't. But you know what? That's the way it is. But you know, the other person that I really should mention is Tim Finchem, because if there probably was the real highlight of my presidency, would have been resurrecting the relationship that the PGA of America had with the PGA Tour. And a lot of the people that are here tonight probably don't understand that in 1968, the tour split from the PGA of America, and there was a pretty contentious relationship that existed for decades. And to Tim's credit, you know, right before I became president, he and I had a one-on-one meeting, and he said, "Hey, we're getting ready to come into a new era with new leadership on your end." And he said, "You know, if we work together, the things that we can accomplish are unlimited, and we really need to try to do that." And we did. And PGA Tour players are also members of the PGA of America, so they're my constituents. And we accomplished a lot of good things for both associations, and you know, he's somebody that I have just a tremendous amount of respect for.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that right after this with Ted. Don't go away. We'll be right back on Callaway Live. We have been picked up for Season 2 of Callaway Live. This is Callaway Live, wait for it, at the Forum. Welcome to our show, Adam Levine, Morgan Pressel.
Okay, let's take a quick Snapchat selfie.
Evan Geiselman. He's dreaming, I'm dreaming. Jimmy Dunn.
I'm not easy.
Jeff Shackelford and Joe House, a.k.a. Jack House. Live show, no script. Bill Mickelson, what could possibly go wrong? Let's say hello to Lydia Ko.
I love to listen to music. Let me go, let it go. Oh, I'm a dreamer. Let it go, let me go.
Gonna put that right there. Let's go with you. See how that one went straight, but it's like inconsistent, you know?
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating.
I love this crowd. You guys got any freebies?
Photographers never really caught me at the Apex.
He could use a little loving.
But are you playing for second and third here? We're trying to win this thing.
Hashtag senior tour.
Are you using that in the new advertising campaigns?
Only if we never want to sell another golf ball ever again. That's not funny. Wow, what a bunch of highlights. It is nice. when you are responsible for putting together your own highlight reel. Don't you think? It's a really nice thing. Was it painful for you in the book? I mean, you lead right off with the events that happened at the very end into the impeachment. Was it painful for you to kind of recount that? You've probably talked about it every time. Every conversation you have is probably about that these days. But was it painful to kind of go through that again?
Yeah, it definitely was, and it still is today. I mean, there'll be. I'm always surprised. There'll be nights I'll wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and for whatever reason, I'm thinking about that. And
don't tweet it.
No, I know. It's you're never too old to learn valuable lessons in life, unfortunately.
Yeah. So in the book, there you are. You're in West Virginia. You're at Nick Faldo's house, and you're just having kind of, those of us that are on the internet, we know kind of how it works on Twitter. There's a lot of, the gloves come off and a lot of, claws start flying. But there you are, and you just sent out what you think is sort of just an innocuous kind of tweet defending your friends, and then all hell breaks loose over the next, 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I think, Harry, I guess I didn't really realize how painful the Ryder Cup loss was for me. Everybody put a lot of energy and strength into it, and obviously it didn't turn out the way we wanted. And it kind of kept building up in me, and I thought that the criticism that Tom Watson received as captain was just really, it wasn't fair. I mean, again, I get back to how bad we got beat, and the thing that was hard for me on that Sunday night at the Ryder Cup is that, I felt like I'd gotten to know Phil Mickelson, pretty well. I liked Phil. Felt like we had, become friends. And then for me to sit there and watch two guys that I had a lot of respect for, two guys that I considered to be friends, and to see what was taking place there was tough. And so when, Poulter came out with his book, No Limits, and he criticized Faldo, and he also criticized Tom for some decisions he made at Glen Eagles. For me, I guess it must have been the straw that broke the camel's back, and I sent those social media posts out, and it's kind of funny because I got up to Nick's house, and Leslie Ann Wade, his girlfriend, came out, and she said, hey, Nick is in the bedroom, and he's laughing like crazy at what you said about Poulter, and I thought, okay, the fun's on, and we got back down to the Greenbrier, and I got a call from Julius Mason, our PR guy at the PGA of America, and he was kind of jovial, and he said, hey, so you and Poulter are just having a good back and forth? And I said, that's kind of what it intended to be on my part, but I said it's not. I don't think it's working out that way. And I said, I didn't even think about this, but some people are saying, for those that don't know, I called Ian Poulter a little girl, and people said that I was sexist, because I did that, and I immediately took the post down, and I knew I had a problem. And, I wanted to apologize right out of the gate, would have liked to have done it that night, actually. But I followed the PGA of America's advice. They'd been right every time we had talked about anything from a media relations standpoint. And, that's probably one of the biggest regrets that I have now, is that I just didn't do what I knew in my heart that I should have done.
Yeah, well, in hindsight, you never know how these things are going to snowball and what are the hot button sort of issues people are going to grab onto. That was a pretty, dumb tweet to send out. I was trying to think, what's a nice way of saying that was a dumb tweet? I'll just say it. Ted's no holds barred. That was a dumb tweet, and I think a lot of us that were seeing it were like, oh, that's probably not the sharpest thing to do. But the sort of outrage that snowballed after that, I think, caught a lot of people in the industry off guard. And you're right in the middle of it. I mean, how'd you deal with that? Did you kind of learn who your friends are? Did you?
Oh yeah.
Good thing you've been nice to your wife for so long, because that's got to be like your wingman on all this stuff.
Well,
right?
No, that's true, and I think that my family, my wife and my two daughters, they probably took it harder than I did. It was really difficult on them, and there's a whole range of emotions that you go through when something like that happens. I mean, if you're me, it goes anywhere from frustration to stupidity to regrets to anger to you're just all over the board. And it really took me probably about 6 weeks to kind of get in a good place. And I had a friend of mine who I'd gone to high school with, Greg Fisher, and he came down and visited me in December, and he said, hey, a bunch of guys I work with have got an idea. We'd love to do a deal. We're going to call it the Mulligan Open next summer, and it's going to be based around raising money for charities, and the theme is going to be giving people a second chance. And we want to give you the dinner that you should have had at the annual meeting and do all that stuff and commemorate your time as president of the PGA of America. And then Tom Watson and Steve Stricker and Tim Fincham all came out to that dinner. Alex Maselli emceed it. So that was kind of one of those things that, I mean, it was really good for me. I mean, it kind of gave me something positive to look forward to and to think about. And then a month after that dinner, the PGA of America called Tom Watson and let him know that he had been elected into the PGA of America Hall of Fame. And, he respectfully declined to go into the Hall of Fame based on, the way that Tom felt that they had treated me unfairly. And I don't know in my lifetime, Harry, if anybody outside of my family, really ever showed me a gesture of friendship, like Tom did there. And, I said in the dedication to my book, the last line is that my friendship with Tom Watson means more to me probably than anything that I've accomplished in golf.
Yeah. It's really sad to, really well-intended people on all sides of this, sort of how it had to come down. And it's a little interesting now because what was seen as very provocative and sort of controversial then, well, now it's kind of in vogue to be politically incorrect, as we all know. And I'm one that hates all of these media outlets that are using Donald Trump to support and prop up their own ratings. Don't you guys hate that? So you can imagine how I feel when we're about to do it. So here we go. This is Who Said It. We're going to play a little audience participation game. Trump or Ted? Ted's a little outspoken. The Donald's a little outspoken. So we have some quotes, and we need you guys to vote. Who said this, Donald or Ted? Ted, I'm curious to know if you even know whether you said these things or not. So here we go. The first one, and this is on his golf course. You guys know Ted owns a golf course in Indiana, 45 holes. Donald owns golf courses. Here he is. I had the very best golf courses in the best places. When my course opened up, I get $475 a round. It's just been so successful. Was that Ted or was that Donald? No Teds? Oh, there's one Ted back there. Ted, you said, do you get $475 at the Legends?
No, I get $49 on weekends.
I think that was Trump. I think he was talking about Doral. Trump? Okay, well, we'll just say that's Trump. All right. That was Trump. I'm hearing in my ear. That was definitely Trump. All right, the next one. This is about growing the game. It's a subject very passionate to all of us here. Who said this, Trump or Ted? Let it be aspirational instead of bringing it down by trying to get players to do it when they're 15 years old. I have no idea what that means, actually. And they're also learning other sports. I think it's very damaging to the game. That doesn't sound like something Ted would say. I think that's a Donald. Donald? Who said that? Donald or Ted? There's another Ted. You guys you're getting a lot of votes back there from the group. Dina thinks that's Ted. You think that? Nope, that was actually Donald.
That's
that
good,
was Donald.
I didn't understand what that meant.
I didn't understand that one either. To be fair, I don't understand half the things that guy says. So, all right, next one. This is on global warming. That's also a topic very passionate, Ted's very passionate about. There's no drought. Did you guys see that? Everybody, California, we know that. Trump just said it. Ted said it. I didn't think Ted said that. That was Trump. He was just here in California. No drought. He actually, and you arrived, it was raining today, so maybe he was right. All right, next issue. This one is on nutrition in America. That's also something Ted's very passionate about. Did Ted say this or Trump? I've never seen a thin person drinking Diet Coke. Anyone? Anyone? Trump? Oh, thanks, Amanda. Appreciate that. It's really nice of you. I think that had to be Trump. None of these are you, Ted. Are you noticing that? Nothing controversial. Couple more. Let's see who we got here. This is on social media. This is something we just talked about. Ted, my Twitter has become so powerful that I can actually make my enemies tell the truth. Ted? No? Trump? That was Trump. That was definitely Trump. Okay, I'm going to have a sip of this Diet Coke because I'm fat. On golf course cuisine. And this one you should know because this comes straight from your book. My course has the best hot dogs in the world. I don't know how they do it, but they're the best. That was a funny segment in your book.
Tell
us about that when.
Well, we played at Trump Bedminster, and I'd gotten there before he did and had lunch and had a hot dog, and it really was a great hot dog. And when we were playing, I was riding with Mr. Trump, and he asked me if I had lunch, and I said, yeah, I had one of those hot dogs. I said, man, those were great hot dogs. And so when we got done, we had about an hour before he had to leave. He was going to take his wife to a Steven Tyler concert, so we go up into the men's locker room at Trump Bedminster, and they've got a grill area up there. So he orders a platter of hot dogs, and there was 5 of us, and I think they brought out like 20 hot dogs. And so we kind of dabbled in those hot dogs. And, the next week, I got a box UPS from Trump Bedminster, and he had sent me a case of these hot dogs. And
were they like from Costco or what? Where
no, they were their best brand hot dogs.
Best brand hot dogs. There you go.
They were the best hot dogs I've ever had at a golf course.
Well, I'm going to challenge that because right after the show, I'm going to take you out for hot dogs. But we wanted to thank Ted for being here. Thanks so much, Ted.
Thanks, sir.
Best of luck for everything on the book. And we really appreciate you being here. Thanks. We will see you next week on Callaway Live. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you.
Ted Bishop. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Ted Bishop. My man, Ted. Was that fun? Yeah. I'd save some Diet Coke for you.